Hey guys, it's Stacy and welcome to the Retro Time Machine. And today we're going to take your traditional Easter egg and do something a little different.
This colorful Easter egg loaf is sure to be a big hit at any Easter party and make everyone feel like a kid again. You're going to need some plastic Easter eggs. I recommend getting 2 different sizes for awesome variation. You're also going to need some citric acid for clarity, sweetened condensed milk, food coloring and food flavoring of your choice, a syringe with a small fine tip, beef gelatin. You're also going to need a Jello mold, some coconut oil, white sugar, some duct tape, and a drill with a small drill bit.
So most modern Easter eggs do have holes in them, and you're going to want to patch those up so your Jello doesn't leak out. I also noticed when you're filling the eggs, especially on the larger ones, you do want to put a protective seal around the area where they click together, because too much pressure when you're injecting the Jello will cause it to pop open and it will leak everywhere. So I believe that these holes are here to prevent these from being a choking hazard. That way you can still get airflow through the holes if you were to try to swallow this. But strangely enough, I did find some smaller eggs that did not have any holes. So that's where our drill comes in handy. You're just going to take your drill bit and drill through one of the areas where the mold was injected. Super simple. And you do want to do that back and forth motion, because I noticed when I didn't, I wound up with a lot of plastic on the inside cap of the egg. You absolutely want to remove any microplastics for you and your friends, because it's not good to eat.
I found that the easiest way to remove any plastic was with a pair of tweezers. Now once you've done that, you're going to want to go ahead and take all of your eggs and give them a good wash and let them dry. Here I'm just taking a small amount of melted coconut oil and dabbing that on a paper towel and making sure the inside of every egg is thoroughly coated before filling. For the eggs with multiple holes, I just took some duct tape and patched up the ones I wasn't going to be using. I also brought out the duct tape and used the part of the egg where it clicks together. So I rolled from one edge to the other and then used that little piece of plastic to mark on the tape about how long of a piece I would need. And for each piece, I just ripped out a small strand. Now before you close your egg up, obviously you're going to want to oil it, and that is easier to do once the holes are closed up too, so it doesn't keep that tape from sticking, and then seal up your egg. The large eggs stand up pretty easy on their own, but I did notice that a little bit of aluminum foil helped the smaller eggs be sturdy. To start our milk gelatin, you are going to need to bloom 4 tablespoons of gelatin and a cup of cold water. For this batch, I used a can and a half of sweetened condensed milk, vanilla, 4 cups of milk, 1.5 cups of cream, and our gelatin. Start by adding your milk to your saucepan and bringing that to a soft boil. Then you're going to add in your gelatin and make sure everything is dissolved by giving it a good stir. Next, you're going to add in your sweetened condensed milk. I decided to add a tablespoon of vanilla, but that is totally optional, and then add your 1.5 cups of cream and give that a good stir. Once you've decided on how many colors you're going to use, then divide up your milk gelatin into equal portions. I decided to save a little bit of white for later. Now, I'm not going to lie, the hardest part about this project for me was figuring out the food coloring. Especially with Wilton, you want to keep in mind that they are going to darken as it sits inside the gelatin or inside the refrigerator. So getting a nice pastel, you can always add more, just keep that in mind. I wanted to add some flavoring to my colors, so for the pink I used strawberry. For the green I used orange for a citrus flavor. For the yellow I used pineapple. And for the blue, I used coconut. Isn't it cool how the alcohol and the food flavoring helps that pigment dissolve? To fill up your syringes, it's definitely easier to do this without the fine tip on. So the fine tip you'll add on after, and it is not sharp, it's blunt. You can find this in gelatin art kits, probably in a hobby store as well. So you just want to fill up your egg. The cool thing about using these colors and the thinness of the plastic is you can actually see how full the egg is and where your air pocket is. So it really helps, and you'll just have to work with it a little bit so it's totally full. Go ahead and grease up your gelatin molds, and then we will move on to making our next batch of Jello. The clear gelatin, you're going to need 2 cups of sugar, 4 cups of water, 1 teaspoon of citric acid, and 4 tablespoons of beef gelatin. Out of that 4 cups of water, you will need 1 cup of that water that is cool, and you're going to go ahead and bloom your beef gelatin inside of that. Add the remaining water and bring that up to a soft boil. Then you're going to add your sugar in gradually, making sure that everything is nice and dissolved. At this point, you can turn your heat down and go ahead and add in that gelatin. You can find citric acid in most bulk food sections at grocery stores or online. It just really helps the clarity of the gelatin and also adds a really nice kind of tart sour flavor, which I think goes great with this.
Okay, so we've let our Easter egg molds chill and set for a little bit, and now it is time to unmold them. So I wanted to unmold them into a container so I could see which ones I won't wear first. I did a couple solid colors of each, and then I did do some rainbow ones where I used the little bits of leftover gelatin and just kind of layered that as the rest were cooling. So I've got a little pie pan here that's got some coconut oil on the bottom, that way they don't stick. I've also got a little dish with a rag and some warm water in case my hands get super grubby. I have already removed the duct tape I put around the exterior, and I'm hoping if I just, pop these open, oh how cool, that these will come out. So we are gonna have some imperfections where we had the air bubbles, but I think that we can camouflage that out as we stack the eggs inside the mold.
I highly recommend doing some rainbow eggs. You just want to briefly chill them inside the refrigerator before each layer. The texture of these eggs is so much fun. I really wanted to just toss them on the floor and see if they would bounce, but I didn't. These are so cool. I could see you just serving them up like this, but we're going to do something a little bit extra.
So when you're assembling your Jello mold, you do want to keep in mind that this is the top, although when you're putting it together, it seems like the bottom. So any eggs with imperfections that are visible, you definitely want to make sure those are facing towards you when you're constructing your gelatin. That way when you unmold it, nobody will see them.
Before I put any of my eggs down, I put down half a cup of gelatin to make sure the top of the mold was nice and smooth and no eggs popped through. Here you can see I let my clear gelatin sit at room temperature. I got a really nice thick consistency. The only thing that I would have done differently with this project is I would have put in some clear gelatin before I finished adding all the eggs, because it did make it a little hard to make sure that the entire mold was covered. So I decided to add a little hidden surprise to my Jello mold. I took a dollar store ice cube tray and used a little bit of the leftover pink and white gelatin to make these little bunnies to hide into my little Easter scape. When adding in your clear gelatin, you really want to tap the mold to make sure all of the air bubbles are out, and you may also need to pull away some of the eggs from the side to make sure they are fully covered in that clear Jello. If you have some Easter eggs hanging out of the bottom of your Jello mold, do not fear. You can just take a hot knife and slice off the pieces that are hanging out. These pieces are perfect for snacking or using in individual smaller cupped size Easter Jellos. Before you unmold your Jello, it is always smart to put a little bit of hot water on whatever surface. That way, if you unmold the Jello and it's not where you want it, there is a little bit of forgiveness. Dipping your Jello mold in hot water for just a few seconds helps to release that bond of the coconut oil so everything slides out smoothly. This mold is fantastic because it has a piece that lifts off and allows that air to get inside. Look at that Jello! As you can see, the colors did get a little bit darker as they were in the refrigerator. It's got a great jiggle, and I bet you know what's coming next. Because I wasn't serving this Jello to the next evening, I made the mistake of putting cling wrap on the outside, and it did kind of change the clarity and shape of the outside of the Jello, but the inside is so beautiful, and that little bunny butt is so cute. I had so much fun serving this because each slice was so unique and individual. I really hope you guys make this for your Easter celebration and that everyone is wowed and loves it. If you enjoyed my video, please take a second to like, comment, and subscribe. And like always, God bless.